Imagine waking up, skipping breakfast, hitting the gym, and wondering, am I destroying my muscles right now? It's the question that haunts anyone who's ever tried intermittent fasting while trying to build a stronger body. For years, we've been told that skipping meals leads to muscle loss. That if you don't eat every few hours, your body will start breaking down your hard-earned muscle for energy. But what if science tells a different story? What if your body has been designed over thousands of years of evolution to protect your muscles during periods without food? Today we're going to explore what really happens to your muscles when you fast, why you might actually feel more energized without food, and how to combine fasting with exercise for the best results. This is educational content, not medical advice. So talk to a healthcare professional before making changes to your diet or exercise routine. Now let's begin with the fear that keeps so many people away from fasting. The biggest concern people have about intermittent fasting is simple. Will I lose muscle? It's a reasonable worry. After all, if you're not eating, your body needs energy from somewhere. And muscle tissue contains protein which can be converted into energy. So it makes sense to think that fasting would eat away at your muscles. But here's what actually happens inside your body when you stop eating. During the first several hours of fasting, your body uses glucose stored in your liver and muscles. This stored glucose, called glycogen, is your body's first backup energy source. It keeps your blood sugar stable and provides fuel for your brain and muscles. But glycogen runs out relatively quickly, usually within 12 to 24 hours, depending on your activity level. So, what happens next? Does your body immediately start breaking down muscle? No. And this is where things get interesting. When researchers studied what happens during extended periods without food, they found something surprising. Instead of protein breakdown accelerating during fasting, it actually slows down. In studies on human starvation, protein breakdown dropped to about 75 grams per day after the first 3 days. And after 3 to 4 days without any food at all, protein breakdown dropped even further to only about 20 grams per day. That's remarkably low. Your body isn't panicking and burning muscle. Instead, it's doing everything it can to preserve it. Why? Because your body has a much better fuel source available. Stored body fat. The average person carries tens of thousands of calories worth of fat on their body. Even a lean individual has enough fat stores to fuel weeks of activity. Your body knows this and it prioritizes burning fat over breaking down precious muscle tissue. But there's another layer to this protection, and it involves one of your body's most powerful hormones. When you fast, your growth hormone levels increase significantly. Studies have shown that growth hormone can rise by 300 to 500% during a 24-hour fast. Some research has documented even higher increases during longer fasting periods. Now, you might have heard that growth hormone helps build muscle, and that's true in certain contexts. But during fasting, growth hormone plays a different role. It acts as a protector. A study published in the journal Diabetes in 2001 demonstrated this clearly. Researchers took subjects who were fasting and gave some of them a drug that blocked growth hormone production. The result: when growth hormone was blocked, muscle protein breakdown increased by 50%. But when growth hormone was allowed to function normally during fasting, muscle was protected. This study proved that growth hormone is what the researchers called a decisive component of protein conservation during fasting. In simple terms, your body increases growth hormone specifically to protect your muscle tissue when you're not eating. And there's more recent evidence supporting this. A 2024 study published in Clinical Nutrition from researchers at Australian Catholic University examined what happens to muscle protein synthesis during intermittent fasting. They studied 27 middle-aged men over a 10-day period, comparing alternate day fasting to continuous eating. The finding, when protein intake was kept adequate, there was no difference in muscle protein synthesis rates between the fasting group and the control group. The researchers concluded that short-term intermittent fasting does not impair the rate at which your body builds muscle protein as long as you're eating enough protein overall. So the science is clear. Your body has powerful mechanisms to protect muscle during fasting. Growth hormone rises to guard your muscle tissue. Fat becomes the primary fuel source. And muscle protein synthesis continues normally when you eat enough protein during your feeding windows. But here's another concern people often raise. Even if I don't lose muscle, won't I feel terrible? Won't I be tired, weak, and unable to focus? This is where things get even more interesting. You would expect that not eating would make you sluggish. After all, food is energy, right? Without it, you should feel drained. But many people who practice intermittent fasting report the exact opposite. They describe feeling more alert, more focused, and more energized during their fasting periods than they do after eating. This isn't just imagination. There's a biological explanation for it. When your glycogen stores run low and your body starts burning fat for fuel, your liver produces molecules called ketones. These ketones serve as an alternative energy source, particularly for your brain. Here's something remarkable about ketones: they can cross the blood-brain barrier and directly fuel your brain cells. And research suggests that ketones provide a more stable, consistent energy supply than glucose does. When you eat carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises and then falls. This creates cycles of energy followed by crashes. You feel great right after eating, then sluggish a few hours later, then hungry again. But ketones don't work that way. They provide a steady stream of energy without the spikes and crashes. Studies have shown that during ketosis, up to 75% of your brain's energy needs can be met by ketones. This explains why so many fasters describe mental clarity rather than brain fog. Their brains are running on a more stable fuel source. And this mental clarity can translate directly to your workouts. Many athletes and fitness enthusiasts report feeling more focused and locked in during fasted training. Without the distraction of digestion and blood sugar fluctuations, they can concentrate fully on their exercise. Of course, this doesn't happen immediately. There's an adaptation period. During your first week or two of intermittent fasting, you might feel some fatigue as your body learns to switch between fuel sources efficiently. But for most people, this passes quickly, and the sustained energy becomes one of the main benefits they notice. Now, let's talk about another advantage of fasting that directly impacts your ability to build muscle: insulin sensitivity. Insulin is a hormone that helps nutrients enter your cells. When you eat, your pancreas releases insulin, which signals your muscle cells, fat cells, and other tissues to absorb glucose and amino acids from your bloodstream. But here's the problem: when you eat constantly throughout the day, your cells can become less responsive to insulin. They've been exposed to it so frequently that they start to ignore its signals. This is called insulin resistance, and it's one of the most common metabolic problems in modern society. When your cells are insulin resistant, nutrients don't get delivered efficiently. Glucose stays in your bloodstream longer than it should. Amino acids don't enter muscle cells as readily. Your body has to produce more and more insulin to get the same effect. Fasting helps reverse this process. When you give your body extended periods without food, insulin levels stay low. Your cells get a break from constant insulin exposure, and during this break, they become more sensitive to insulin again. Research has shown that fasted training can improve glucose tolerance and insulin sensitivity. One notable study found that training in a fasted state led to better improvements in insulin sensitivity compared to training after eating, even when the total exercise was the same. What does this mean for muscle building? When you break your fast, your cells are primed and ready to absorb nutrients. Your muscle cells respond more strongly to insulin's signal. Protein and amino acids are delivered more efficiently to where they're needed. This is sometimes called the rebound effect. After a period of fasting, your post-fast meals may actually be used more effectively for muscle repair and growth than meals eaten after constant feeding. So fasting doesn't just protect your muscle. It may actually improve how efficiently your body uses the food you eat to build and repair muscle tissue. Now that we understand what happens during fasting, let's shift to something practical. How do you actually optimize this for building muscle and maintaining energy? The first key is understanding how your body adapts to using fat for fuel. When you first start intermittent fasting, your body is used to running primarily on glucose. It takes time to become efficient at switching to fat and ketones. This adaptation period usually lasts about 2 to 4 weeks for most people. During this time, you might notice lower energy levels or reduced workout performance. This is normal. Your body is learning a new skill. Once you're adapted, you'll have what's called metabolic flexibility, the ability to efficiently use either glucose or fat, depending on what's available. The second key is protein timing and intake. You may have heard the old advice that you need to eat protein every 3 to 4 hours to maintain muscle, but recent research has challenged this idea. What matters most is your total daily protein intake, not how frequently you eat it. For people focused on building or maintaining muscle, aim for about zero point 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight each day. If you weigh 170 pounds, that's roughly 120 to 170 grams of protein daily. During intermittent fasting, you'll be eating this protein in a shorter time window. This means larger protein servings at each meal, and research shows your body can handle this. Studies have found that people can effectively absorb and use protein from large meals of 80 to 100 grams when they're adapted to this eating pattern. The third key is breaking your fast strategically. Your first meal after fasting doesn't need to be complicated. Focus on including a complete protein source, something that contains all the essential amino acids. This could be eggs, fish, meat, poultry, or a combination of plant proteins. If you're training, your post-workout meal is particularly important. This is when your muscles are most receptive to nutrients. Combine protein with some carbohydrates to support recovery and replenish glycogen stores. Some people ask about branched chain amino acids or essential amino acids for fasted training. These supplements can be helpful, but they're not essential if your overall daily protein intake is adequate. If you choose to use them, 5 to 10 grams before a fasted workout is a reasonable approach. Let's talk specifically about training during intermittent fasting. One of the most debated questions in this space is whether you should train fasted or fed. The truth is, research supports both approaches. Studies on bodybuilders during Ramadan, when they fast daily from sunrise to sunset for an entire month, have shown that both fasted training and fed training can preserve muscle mass. Neither approach is clearly superior. What matters more is consistency and meeting your overall nutrition targets. That said, there are some practical considerations. Fasted training may be better for fat burning during cardiovascular exercise. When you train without food in your system, your body relies more heavily on fat stores for fuel. Fed training may allow you to lift heavier and train at higher intensities. Having food in your system provides readily available energy for maximum effort. Many people find a middle ground that works well, training near the end of their fasting period and eating their first meal shortly after the workout. This combines some benefits of fasted training with the advantage of post-workout nutrition when your muscles are primed for recovery. Regardless of when you train, progressive overload remains the most important factor for building and maintaining muscle. This means gradually increasing the weight reps or difficulty of your exercises over time. No fasting protocol can replace the stimulus of challenging your muscles to adapt and grow. During your adaptation period to intermittent fasting, consider reducing your training volume slightly. This might mean fewer sets per workout, not fewer exercises. As your body adapts and your energy stabilizes, you can return to your normal training volume. And always listen to your body. If you feel dizzy, extremely weak, or notice your heart racing during a fasted workout, stop. Your body is sending you a signal. There's no shame in eating first and training later. The goal is long-term progress, not pushing through warning signs. After training, especially fasted training, hydration becomes critical. You've been without food and possibly without much water, depending on your fasting approach. Rehydrate thoroughly and break your fast with a balanced meal containing protein, carbohydrates, and healthy fats. Don't underestimate sleep either. Your muscles don't grow during workouts. They grow during recovery, particularly during sleep. If you're combining fasting with intense training, quality sleep becomes even more important. Now let's discuss finding the right fasting schedule for your fitness goals. There are several popular approaches to intermittent fasting, and they work differently for different people. The 16-8 method involves fasting for 16 hours and eating within an 8-hour window. This is the most popular approach and often the easiest to maintain. With an 8-hour eating window, you can comfortably fit 2 to 3 solid meals, which makes it easier to meet your protein and calorie targets for muscle building. The 18-6 method extends the fast to 18 hours with a 6-hour eating window. This is slightly more aggressive and works well for people focused on fat loss while maintaining muscle. You can still fit 2 meals into this window, but it requires more planning. The 24 method, sometimes called the warrior diet, involves a 20-hour fast with only a 4-hour eating window. This is more challenging and can make it difficult to consume enough calories and protein for muscle growth. It works for some people, but it's not ideal if building muscle is your primary goal. One meal a day, or OMAD, takes fasting to the extreme with essentially a 23-1 schedule. This is not recommended for people focused on muscle building because fitting adequate nutrition into a single meal is extremely difficult. The 5-2 method involves eating normally 5 days per week and significantly reducing calories on 2 non-consecutive days. This approach is less common in fitness circles, but can work for general health benefits. For most people who want to build muscle, maintain strength, and experience the energy benefits of fasting, the 16-8 method is the sweet spot. It provides enough fasting time to trigger the metabolic benefits we've discussed, while still allowing adequate time to eat enough for your fitness goals. Your specific eating window should fit your lifestyle and training schedule. Some people prefer an early window, eating from 7 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. Others prefer a later window from noon until 8 in the evening. Experiment and find what works for your body and your schedule. What's your preferred fasting schedule? 16-sit, 8-18-6, or something else? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm curious what works for you. Beyond the muscle and performance benefits, there's a bigger picture worth considering. Many people who practice intermittent fasting long-term report benefits that extend beyond the gym. Sustained mental clarity throughout the day, fewer afternoon energy crashes, more stable mood and focus. These benefits often improve over the first few weeks as your body becomes more efficient at switching between fuel sources. This metabolic flexibility isn't just useful for workouts. It may protect against metabolic diseases and support healthier aging. Research has linked improved insulin sensitivity to reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. Combined with regular exercise, intermittent fasting supports markers of cardiovascular health. The combination creates a foundation for long-term well-being, not just short-term results. Fasting also activates cellular cleanup processes. When your cells aren't busy processing incoming food, they can focus on removing damaged components and renewing themselves. Exercise stimulates similar processes. Combined fasting and exercise may enhance your body's natural renewal mechanisms. This isn't a fountain of youth, but it's a sustainable approach to supporting your health over the long term. The key word there is sustainable. Intermittent fasting combined with exercise isn't meant to be a short-term diet or a quick fix. It's a lifestyle approach. Some days you'll fast perfectly. Some days you won't. And that's okay. Consistency over time matters more than perfection on any single day. So here's what we've learned. Your body doesn't panic when you skip a meal. It activates ancient survival systems that protect your muscles, burn fat for fuel, and even sharpen your mind. Growth hormone rises to guard your hard-earned muscle tissue. Ketones provide clean, stable energy to your brain. And when you finally eat, your cells are primed to absorb nutrients more efficiently than before. Recent research from 2024 confirms that intermittent fasting does not impair muscle protein synthesis when protein intake is adequate. Studies on athletes fasting during Ramadan show that muscle mass can be maintained even through a full month of daily fasting. This isn't about starving yourself. It's about working with your biology, not against it. Fasting and fitness aren't enemies. They can be powerful partners. But remember, this isn't one size fits all. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, have a history of eating disorders, have diabetes, requiring medication, or any chronic health condition, talk to a doctor before trying this. And if something doesn't feel right during a fast stop, your body's signals matter more than any protocol. Now I want to hear from you. What surprised you most in this video? Was it the growth hormone protection, the ketone brain fuel, or the research showing muscle is preserved during fasting? Let me know in the comments. And here's a question that always sparks debate. Do you train fasted or fed? Drop fasted or fed below? I'm genuinely curious where you stand on this. If you know someone who's been afraid to try fasting because they didn't want to lose muscle, share this video with them. It might change how they think about their body. Subscribe if you want more science-backed insights into what your body is truly capable of. Next time, we're diving into what happens when you break your fast wrong and how to avoid the mistakes that undo all your progress. See you in the next one.